Welcome to Daf in Hand. Here, time Hashem to grant us to study and understand today's Daf. Ki Hashem yitn chacham pivdas. You know, for those and have questions or dedications, the contact info is dafinhand@gmail.com. Okay, so far we've dealt with regarding the Korban, the idea of shini bailam and shini shame, meaning that you have the wrong intentions of the style and the owner, and it's a problem. And the Gemara had a question: how do we know that having the wrong intentions? Where do you find it in the pasuk? We brought in the pasuk that both shini bailam and shini shame cause a problem in the Korban. We discussed that the problem is that the owner is disenfranchised. It's not credited to the owner, yet we continue the Korban and it's still kosher Korban. We continue using it, which Gemara finds surprising. How is that possible? And we found the appropriate pasuk that yes, it's not credited, it's not valid like a neder in the dovet, and it still gets done anyways. Even Korban Ashim, the Gemara discussed that, which is different because that comes for kapara, mainly for sin offering. That too, we bring it, although it does not count. So now, today, what we're going to discuss is now that the owner has to bring a second Korban, which one is the one that actually achieves the atonement for this owner, the first or the second? We're also going to discuss the Korban Oila, which we know can give, and other korbanos also which give atonement. Do they cover till the designation? What happens? Somebody brings a korban, somebody designates, I'm going to bring this korban, and at that point, between Zen and actually bringing it, which can be a delay, he does more averis, more sins. Is that also included in the kapara of the korban or not? That's really the two things today. Which korban, the first or the second, given the kapara, and which averis, which sins are included in the forgiveness that the korban brings for the owner. Okay, we are holding the above by the two dots, approximately 12, 14 lines down. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 lines down, 16 lines. Gemara is questioning. Kipru al mashabo or loy kipru? Is there a kapara on what he brought? Does what he brought give him an atonement or not? Most probably the first one did not give him a proper atonement yet. Why? The Isakadite of Kipru, if you want to tell me the first korban already brought him an atonement, then why is he bothering bringing the second korban? Of course, the first one couldn't have done the job. If the first one did the job, we're not bringing the second one. Elamai, so what do you want to say? According to your logic, like Kippur, the first one didn't give him the proper atonement. So why am I bothering finishing the first one? Either way, you can't have it both ways. When it says Omer of Asher, Rav Sheshe Breder in Breder of Ida, this is what he's asking. I understand if he said like Kippur, it was the first one didn't bring a kapara, because the first one originally was dedicated properly. Then it got kind of like messed up. So we're going to continue. It has some holiness within. We're going to bring it. What does the second one come? The chaper to give him an atonement. The second one does all kapara. Why is he bringing it all together? So but if you're going to tell me that the first one does the kapara, why is the second one coming all together? If the first one will do the kapara. So what the answer is, the first one, being that it was already holy, we continue and we bring it. The second one is one that actually does the kapara. Good, by two dots, and let's continue. We are saying that the korban oila can be mechaper, can atone for various number of essays of positive commandments that he neglected to fulfill, which is actually we had before with the previous Gemara of the Yoldis, a mother who who dies and the children bring the korban, we discussed over there how the korban oil can be mechaper for many forms of korbans, of averos. Now, a normal person he says, okay, I am going to bring this animal for my korban oil, and it's going to be a kapara for an atonement for all the sins I've done. Now, after he designates it, he does more averos. Will this korban oil collect these new averos and add it to its calculations, or no? What you designated till now, it's going to atonement. New ones is a new accounting system. It's on a new account. Again, hafrosh mechapra, the achar rosh mechapra, or lo mechapra. Me and Rin do we say me did have a chata, just like korban chatas, which is sin offering. My chata is the kohen mafrosh end. Korban chatas, anything before I designated it, it will give me an atonement. The achar frosh loy will not. Avhacha here by the oil also. Nam the kohen mafrosh end before the frosh it gives me the kapara. The achar frosh after designation loy will not give me the kapara. We say similar to chatas. Loy dami lechatas is not saying it's not similar to chatas. Why? The chatas are called chet v'chet boy l'sui the chatas. For a chatas, you can't compare this at all to a korban chatas, sin offering. For chatas which are serious sins, which like for example eating on Yom Kippur or other such serious sins. Over there, for every transgression, you bring every serious transgression, you bring its own korban chatas. The korban oil can carry on its shoulders many essays that a person transgressed. And there's a difference between essay and lois. Essay is a positive commandment which a person neglected to do, and there's a lois essay, a negative commandment which a person did. So for positive command the person neglected to do, for example, he didn't put on tefillin or didn't put tzitzis on his four-cornered beged, four-cornered four-cornered clothes. So if he didn't do a positive commandment, for that he brings an oil, and one oil can give an atonement for a number of these things. Now, do we say that if you designate, you say, okay, I'm bringing this oil, I designated it, and now I collected a few more lack of doing a mitzvah. Will we add it? Can we add it to the list, or not? It's in the list. So that's our question. Toshima, I'm going to bring you an answer. We have with Pasuk with Samach v'Nitza Smicha. Every korban required, almost every korban required that the owner lean with his hands, support his full weight on the body of the animal. The big ox probably wouldn't even notice that he did that, and but the part of the owner would tshuva, would say certain prayers, and he would lean his full weight, not just put his hands on it, but lean his full weight on the animal, and that was called smicha. Now, if he did not do smicha, so really the korban would still be kosher, but it's kind of like not really doing his mitzvah properly. Here you are at the height of turning to Hashem, and Hashem, please forgive me, and not even bothering doing it properly. So Gemara is not going to be too happy with that. So now, that what we're dealing with, the pasuk says, "The stomach benit, you make smicha, and then you'll get your forgiveness. It'll be ritzui. Is smicha the one that does the kapara? That's not so. Le'in kapara el bedam is the sprinkling of the blood in the mizbeach that affects the actual kapara. Shnemer ki adam hi benefshi chaper is the blood that makes the kapara, that affects the kapara of a korban. El matam loim b'samach v'nitza the chaper. Why are we telling you this? Shem asher l'smicha shior mitzvah. If I took this smicha and I gave it, I was like negligent. I didn't care about it, and I just left it to the side. Mal all of a plus a kilo like kipper the kipper, as if he didn't have a kapara and he did. My love means the kipper as to the kohen mafrasha. It does the kapara before the afrasha. Loy kipper as to the smicha, and the smicha not. In other words, what was done till now, the averis is going to cover, but the averis after afrasha, when you designated it, and which is the time of the smicha also, loy kipper es the smicha, the havle es the lachar afrasha, and it will not be mechaper. So therefore, this Tana, this person seems to learn from the Samach Benirza that the Averis, the sins done before Hafrosha, before designation, it will cover. The sins done at the time of Smicha, which is after designations, it will not cover. This is one potential answer to our query. The other, Omerava, no. Essa, the Smicha Kami, you're talking about the Essa of Smicha, where we said the oil comes for positive commands which you're required to do, and you neglect it. So he has a Korban Smicha, which he's required to do. But he didn't really transgress it because I can do it in 5 minutes from now, I can do it in 10 minutes from now, I can do it in 15 minutes from now. I can do it up to the time where it's actually shechted. Shan Hosn, the Kol Kamid Eloi Shachid, as long as we didn't get shech the animal, it's standing there ready to be do the smicha. When did he transgress this esse? You only transgress the esse of the commandment of doing the smicha is only after you shechted, not in the time of designation, because he could do it up until time get shechted. So he wasn't transgressing. Once it's shechted, then he transgressed it. Nobody is of the opinion that after a shecht an animal, then it should be mechaper. That's already certainly a new accounting page. So therefore, smicha tells. So what we're telling you is smicha is not will certainly not be covered. It's eminently logical that it's even we could say that after her frosha it will cover, but it will cover everything but smicha. Because smicha only triggered after the shechita, and after the shechita, most certainly it will not cover any of that. So at this point, we have two opinions. One is that it will cover after designation till the shechted, and one is it will after designation till then it will cover. It will not cover anything after that. And we're going to go now into a third opinion, which we're going to kind of like toss around, but we end up without any proof or without any finality, and we're going to be left with having at the end of the page, at the end of the daf, we will have no answer other than these what we just went through now. Answer this way and then answer that way. We're going to end up without having a full answer, satisfying answer of will a korban, an oila, which gives me an atonement, certainly gives me atonement until the moment of designation. Will it also give me atonement for those mitzvahs after the designation up until I do actually the shechita? So now, let's say, when it says over your kippur is partial atonement and not an atonement, you know what that means? Amos say that means as follows. Kippur Gavra, the man actually got his kapara, but loy kippur kamishemaya. But Hashem's not happy with it. Remember before we had that there's 6 things a person is supposed to think when he brings the korban. One of them is reyach, and one of them is nichoyach, going up in a good smell towards Hashem, kind of like anthropomorphism of giving physical characteristics. Hashem does that. The Torah does that for us to be able to understand. But the korban gives a good reich nichoyach, a good smell to Hashem, meaning it was done properly. Over here, it will be the other way around. The man gets his kapara, but so using the same language as Reich Nechoyach, it kind of smells. And Hashem's like holding his nose in the same kind of language as Reich Nechoyach. And like Kippur Kam Shemaya, Hashem's not happy with this atonement. It's going to work, but not really to Hashem's satisfaction. We look at the first Rashi of the page. Like Kippur Kam Shemaya, it will not give satisfying. It will not make Hashem satisfied. Whichever way, I mean, that's a very complicated topic in itself. He did not do the mitzvah properly. So basically, what we're saying is it will give him a kapara, will give him an atonement, but not to Hashem's satisfaction. This will smell to high heaven. Pardon the pun. Me like Tanan, but noister. How we're going to, and I'm going to back up what I just said, that kind of have a kapara, but it's not to Hashem's liking. But we have it with pasuk by Mitzayra. Chumash says in Mitzayra in Vayikra, there, Mitzayra is after, when he finally finishes with his skin marking, skin disease, translated as leprosy, but totally not. It's more of a spiritual thing. In any case, when it's all done, he comes to the base of Mikdash, and he brings he brings a korban and also oil, And this oil, the Kohen will put on his left hand, and then take his right hand and sprinkle towards the Beis Mikdash, and you'll take some and you'll put it on his right earlobe, his right big toe, and his right thumb and his right big toe, and then you'll take everything and put the rest on the head of the person who is cleansing himself from tzuras. So now let's learn. Tanan, but noiser b'shemen asher kav, you put it on the ex Mitzvah's head. Lechaper olav l'fnei Hashem, im nosan, if you put it kippur, loy nosan, loy kippur. If you didn't put it, then he didn't effect the atonement properly, and still has to come back and make sure he gets the oil in his head. These are like leftover the periphery of the mitzvah. It's nevertheless still kippur. He does have the kapara. Mal olav kilu loy kippur, but we count it as if it wasn't kippur. He did not get atonement. He has the atonement, but he doesn't. My kilu loy kippur. What does it mean? He has the atonement, but does not have the atonement. Which one is it? If you want them, that means that he has to bring a new korban. We said no. Kippur, he still has, according to Yochanan, he still has this kapara. So Bekivu says he didn't have a proper kapara, but Yochanan says he does. El Kippur Gavra, the person gets his kapara. The Kippur comes Shemaya, but the Shem is not happy with it, and that's what it will be over here. So it's kind of like Mechlek is whether I have to come back and do it again, but certainly Hashem's not happy with it. Hachanam is saying the same thing over here by our case of which we started off that the smicha. Say also Hachanam Kippur Hachanam Kippur. So Hasam Nam Kippur Matan Boinus. The Hochanam Kippur say over here also by our smicha that we didn't do smicha, it's Kippur, it means atonement, but Hashem doesn't like it. Where it says no, don't. You can say it differently. Hasam Nam Kippur Matan Boinus, like Kippur Matan Shavosh. When we say put it on the thumb and on the big toe, and you didn't put it on the head, that's what we mean. That the part of the mechlekes over here would be whether I have to start fresh and do it again on his toe, his thumb, his ear, and then continue, do that, repeat that, and then do it on his head, or we say no, those which he did already are acceptable, are done, and he's going to come back and bring more oil. He only has to continue on the head where he left off. The Kohen has put oil on the ex-Mitzvah's head, and not need to repeat the ear, big toe, and tongue. So therefore, we haven't proven that this is what our Mishnah means. Our original Mishnah by Smicha could mean both ways of showing you that the Korban will be kapara after designation or not, and so we don't need. This doesn't tell us anything. So let's try again. Tashma Shimon Omer Kivsei Etzeres, the lambs of Shavuos Lomahin Boin. Why are they coming for? So what do you mean? Because it says Shlomim. We know that. It says in Chumash it's Shlomim. El More says no. What I mean to say is Tzirei Etzeres Lomahin Boin. The Tzeirim, the lambs of Etzeres, what are they coming for? There were two different psukim, each one telling me I must bring one chatat. This is not the Shnei Tzeirim. This is a different one with one pasuk in Vayikra, one pasuk in Bamidbar, as Rashi clearly spells out, telling me that I have to bring the korban chatas. Why am I bringing two chatas? Tumas Mikdash Ukachar for those who come into Beis Mikdash and or aided in tummy. Now, just to realize, because we're going to say over here how prevalent this could be, it's quite possible for somebody not to realize that he became tummy and he's walking into the Beis Mikdash. Not people are doing it on purpose or with bad intentions. There were so many hundreds of thousands of people coming into the Beis Mikdash. Many of them could have been tummy without even knowing about it. They could have been an abandoned grave somewhere which they crossed over, and they didn't even know there was a body over there. They would be tummy. They could have stepped into a house where perhaps there was a dead body over there, or on the other end of the house, and somebody had died and wasn't on the day that he died. Or there could be many ways. A person could pass under a roof, or there was under a tree, which is over a cemetery. Many people could have become tummy, and it would need a kapara. So these korbanos brought a kapara for those who went into Beis Hamikdash and they were tummy. Now, in Nizik Domishavishin, I had here two korbanos, right? Two chatas. If we spritz the blood of the first one, Sheni Lama Korov, so why the second one coming? We just finished kapara. Al Tomer She'ura, Ben Zeh Lezeh, for the new Tomer, new Averis, which will happen in between the first and second korban so quickly. In reality, we should be bringing a korban every half an hour, another korban for the transgressions of walking into the Beis Hamikdash Tomei or eating korban Tomei, which was so easy for people to mistakenly transgress. And the pasuk said, you know what? It's too much of a burden, too much of a demand to be continuously bringing such korbanos. So therefore, we don't bring it every day. But on Shavuos, which is an elevated day, it's the day we receive the Torah. It's a day where the purpose of our nation. We study the Torah. We become better people. The core of our Judaic laws is so important. So we get kapara from Tumah twice. Now, fine, very good. Now let's analyze this. When did we dedicate these animals for korbanos? Presumably, erev Shavuos, we prepared, we did our proper preps, and everything was ready. The two animals were ready to bring, so we designated erev Shavuos. And over here now we're going to bring. We are concerned that Tumah, which a person transgressed on Shavuos, which means after the designation. Isn't there a proper proof that even after his designation, we will still the animal will still be able to bring atonement for averos which were committed after his designation? It's after the Russia. After it was ready to designated erev Shavuos, become a chapra on Shavuos. So now either had we have done them both in the same time, then your cash would be your proof would be good. My skin in the I designate them one after the other. And say excuse me. And therefore the second one was designated on Shavuos, and was designated on Shavuos. Now we're talking about the new veils, which were. So these were done for designation for the two lambs, the two animals, which are at different designation times, and the kapara would be for the times in between the first designation and the second designation, which is done later. So it includes also the new averis, the new tummy in between the two korbanos. So I'm going to ask in that case, you want to tell me the pasuk is telling the kesiva it's for one after another? That's not what it seems to be the simple reading of the pasuk, where no, you're going to only count it when one is designated after the other. So that I don't like that kind of an explanation. That I have two korbanos, and you know what? We separate. The only we're going to learn this. We did them on different times, and the first time the first animal will bring its kaparas until its designation, and the second one will bring its kapara until its designation, which is a subsequent and later time. It's not doesn't seem to be the way pasuk should be written. Papa, you're right. Korban Sibra, we're talking about Korban Sibra, public Korbanos, China Korban Sibra, the Leiv Bezin Kamasna Lane, because it's done under the auspices of the Beit Din, of the rabbis, and the rabbi, and therefore it's done because it's done under their auspices. It's run under their designation. And Kidrav Gida Omer Shmuel, Omer Gida Omer Shmuel, Korban is Yud Mishmuel said. This is the explanation. Korbanos Tibra is Tzaken Mishachta, the Mashahen. Then, when the designation happens, we delay the designation. Yes, we bring the animal, we prepare it, we tell the animal, okay, stay here, stay. The animal is waiting, and then at the time of shechting, actually processing the korban, that is when we have the designation in mind. Now it will become. So the designation is at the last moment. So don't be surprised. Don't tell me the designation was yesterday. Now we're seeing that we get a kapara, forgiveness, an atonement for what happened after designation. No, the designation is stretched and pushed and delayed till the last moment. So of course it's going to include any new affairs done with the first and the second, because the second one wasn't even designated. It only gets designated at the last final moment, at the moment of the shechita. And by the way, we find something similar when we're going to run into Sechtes Kinim, which is childbirth. A mother gave birth, has to bring two birds, one an oila and one a chatas. And the Gemara is a whole. We're talking. The Gemara talks about the Mishnah talks about where we made a mistake, and each one gets processed differently, and we mixed up which bird is chatas, which one is oila, and the Gemara goes through mind-bending mathematical situations in the whole Masechta, all because that we pre-designated which one is which. And Mishnah tells you over there the procedure was that up until the very moment where the kohen processed the bird through shechita or malika, we were told don't think about it. It gets designated. The kohen was designated at the time of the actual shechita or malika. So here too, the animal gets. You know when we're going to designate this animal at the actual point of shechita, and therefore the question doesn't arise of averos which are going to get forgiven, atoned after the designation. There is no after designation. We stretch the designation until the last moment. And so there now makes sense for how we answer the two korbanos. On Shavuos. That's a very good answer. But we got one big problem. Rav Shimon does not hold of this concept of designating it till the last moment. In Rav Shimon, it's automatic, and we follow under the auspices of Beis Din, and the kohen who shechts it is done under whichever ruling, whichever we wanted. Here's a new situation. A quick rundown. We know everyone gives half a shmachtas, a shekel, at the fiscal year starting in Nisan. The fiscal machtas a shekel year starting in Nisan, and was done. The machtas shekel was donated. It was an obligatory donation for everyone, which gave them their part, their ownership in the korbanos which were brought in the Beis Hamikdash. And it was every year had to have. It was a new fiscal year, and what was collected last year went for last year. What would happen towards the end of the fiscal year? We realized we had bought and designated too many daily sacrifice, the korban tamid, morning and evening korban tamid. So we had too many, and it was already the end of other, and now we're stuck with a couple of korbanos. What do we do with them? So if we didn't designate them particularly, no problem. Then you can use it we can sell it and use it for various parts of the Beis Hamikdash. We have what to deal with. So tamidim were no longer needed for the tzibur. Turn the page to Zayin with Aleph. The Dibur of Shimon, Ein Niftin, we cannot redeem them because they were already designated. Ein Niftin Tanimim, we have to wait till they get blemish, and then they lose their they partially lose their holiness, and we can redeem it and use the money for other things. But the Dibur Chachamim, Niftin Tanimim, we could redeem them even as they stand as they're standing, because we just said the Chachamim, we don't designate it till the last moment. Rav Shimon says we do designate it till the last moment. Rav Shimon can't have this answer on the two seirim of Shavuos. So presumably he holds of the answer that there is kapara after designation. You know why you have two seirim? One, they're both designated. Let's say erev Shavuos. One is the first one brings me my kaparas till the first one was shechted and processed, and then inevitably the second one will be an hour later, half an hour later, and that will make a kapara for the new affairs done in the past hour. As we said, it would be nice if we can bring the korban every hour. So that's going to Rav Shimon. So therefore, we have no answer really on whether Averis done post designation are included or not. I'm just finish off the Gemara. He takes it a step further. What happens if I check them? I have two cups, each one the blood of one of those animals. When Nizrik Domi shall Rishon, and I ready and I sprinkled the first blood. Shane Lamibo, why am I sprinkling blood of the second one? So the answer is for the 5 minutes in between the two zrikas. So that will show you, we certainly, if we're asking what happens after Shtita, presumably after designation, we're sure it's covered. No, that's not good proof. Oh no, what's in the? I jumped the gun. So and the Gemara spells out what I just said. We're not even asking about the es after the approach, showing you that those are done after the approach means the designation. That certainly gets covered. We're just wondering what happens after the shkita. So that will show an indication. Gemara says no. We're talking about if you're going to tell me that we say that it includes after designation, so I'm going to stretch my question. I'm wondering what happens if we already have it's already shechted, but I didn't spritz the blood yet. There too doesn't include those new affairs done between the shchita and the spritzing. But we don't really answer our question. So therefore, the Shimon on the two animals of the Shavuos. It could be we're talking about where we designated them Erev Shavuos. It could be we're talking about where we designated last one. We don't have an answer over here. We didn't previously. We had discussed between Rava and the Rava says that they are covered. That generally we do after Frosha, except for the Smicha one, which that's because it's like kind of like the only time you transgress is after the Shechita, and that we're not going to allow you. Or the Tanakama who says differently that we don't do anything after our Frosha. So we asked, what do we do today? The first part is we asked about why we're bringing the second korban. We said the first korban is going to come because it was already holy, and then we're going to bring it. The owner is going to bring the second korban for its kapara. The first one for continuation of its holiness, and the second one a new korban to get its kapara. And afterwards, we asked this korban oila when I designated to bring the korban. So all my averas up until the time of designation certainly get covered. What happens if after designated, I still made some more averas, and now some mindless or simple averas, I still made some more. Does that get covered also? And we end up without giving a proper answer to this. And that is our Daf Vav today. Thank you for listening. For any questions or designations, the contact info is dufinhand@gmail.com. Thank you.